parents, welcome to Teenager Tuesday. My name is Tisha Solomon. I'm so glad that you are with us today. I am the student pastor at the Frisco East Campus. We're starting a series today called Summer Stories. I'm excited about this series and just different stories you're going to hear about people who've been connected in some way to Hope students. And today I'm excited to be here with my friend, Angela Lenz. She is not only a pastor at Hope Fellowship, but also one of my dear friends. And so it's just going to be so exciting to be on. And it's going to be like we're on the back patio drinking coffee, having a conversation. And I love it. So I'm just going to jump right on in. You know, we have a lot of students who attend Hope Fellowship, and some only on the weekends, some on Wednesday nights. And I get the question a lot from parents, how do I get my kid connected at Hope students? This is a question I literally get. I have one email a week that I have in my inbox from parents asking me this exact question. I think that, you know, they come to Hope Fellowship as a parent and they see the value that community brings, whether they're in a home group or a group at all, a Bible study, regeneration, re-engage, and they can just see the community that happens and how valuable it is to their spiritual life. And they want that for their kid, especially because their kid is, you know, going to school and maybe the community that they're finding isn't necessarily a spiritual community that loves Jesus. And so they really want their kid to see what it can be like to have Christian community. So they're reaching out to me as a student pastor and saying, hey, how can I get my kid more involved? And this is an ongoing question for parents everywhere. It just is. And I think students can be intimidated to come to a Wednesday night Hope student service because they don't know what to expect. They don't know who's going to be there. They don't know if it's going to be weird. And I get that. It can be very intimidating to come to something for the first time, not knowing what it's going to look like. And oftentimes I'll email these parents back and just say, hey, I'd love to plan a time to accidentally, in quotations, if you can't see me, but in quotations say, I'd love to plan a time on an accident to meet your kid on the weekend so that I can meet them, so that I can invite them to Hope students. And oftentimes I'll bring other students who come to Hope students regularly and are a part of what's going on at Hope students on Wednesday night and introduce them to that student so that they realize the kind of people that come on Wednesday nights and how great and how fun it is. Always advocating for coming on Wednesday nights and being a part of the life. And so as we've been talking about this series, I actually wanted to invite my friend Angela because she kind of has a journey of getting her kids connected to Hope students also. She has 3 kids. My daughter, Bella, who is a sophomore in college this year, which is wild. She has come to Hope students since she was in 6th grade, since the moment she could, was connected with her small group in a very real way and found very real community quickly. And I think that's just a part of her personality too. She's very outgoing, extroverted.
Very outgoing.
Yeah. And it was really cool to see her journey from beginning to end. And it wasn't without struggles, right? Like every student has struggles connecting and feeling a part of stuff, but she really did find beautiful community that happened at Hope students, people that she could trust and share her walk with the Lord with, which I thought was awesome. It was very cool to see that happen. Angela also has 2 boys, twin boys, and this year they are about to finish their junior year, going to start their senior year next year, and their journey's just been a little bit different than Bella's. They also have been coming since they were in 6th grade, but that's kind of where it ended for them. They would come on the weekends and they would come every Wednesday night, but they weren't really a part of the life of what was happening at Hope students. They would come, and it almost felt like, and this is a student pastor perspective, that it was kind of a checklist, like, oh, this is something I have to do, and so I'm going to do it, and my mom's a pastor here, so like this is something that I have to do. I'm going to check it off the list. They would come, show up last minute, and then leave as quickly as they could, not really being connected to the life of what was happening at Hope students. And honestly, it was my deepest desire and wish to get them connected because I adore these boys. I've known them since they were young. I know how fun and how great they can be. They are some of my favorite teenagers literally in the whole world. And I really wanted to get them connected, and I didn't know how to do it. And I didn't want me to be this weird old lady student pastor who was like begging them to be a part of what was happening, right? I wanted to be like hip and cool and like, hey, don't you want to be with us? Like, we have so much fun together, right? So a couple of years ago, I went on a trip with them, which I've been on many summer camps. I've been on many mission trips with them. But 2 years ago, I felt my relationship shift with them when I went on a missions trip to New Orleans with them. And I felt like it went from, hey, this random lady who knows my mom, although it wasn't random, but like this lady who kind of was more friends with my mom and had more to do with my mom than she did with me, to that's my student pastor. Mm-hmm. And it was a really cool connection that I made with both the boys on that trip. And I really felt our relationship shift. And it was beautiful. And when I got back, while not everything changed, it did feel like our communication was better, us connecting felt better, and it was awesome. Now, not everything changed. There was still struggle along the way. And then last year, I went to Costa Rica with the boys and a whole group of us, and it was an incredible mission trip. And that is when I felt like the connection to them being at Hope Students really sealed the deal, because I was talking to them about coming and serving in middle school groups, which is a really cool opportunity for juniors and seniors, at Hope Students. And they were like, we come on Wednesday nights. Well, like, what else do you want from us? We come on Wednesday nights. And I'm like, I get that you come on Wednesday nights. You are coming, but I haven't felt you actually connected to the life of what's going on at Hope Students. And if you see this beautiful community that we have right now in Costa Rica with 16 students and 4 leaders, this is what I want for you. Not just on a summer basis, but on an every Wednesday night basis. And I believe that you can have it, but you're gonna have to step out and like really get to know other people who are at Hope Students. And I watched them rise to the challenge. And it wasn't because of me necessarily. William Beal, who works with me, he's incredible. He really locked in with these guys and really started, I believe, discipling them, pushing them to do what God had called them to do. And now here we are. And Will and Carter, they serve every single Sunday at middle school groups. They come every single Wednesday night. They're early. They play basketball out in the parking lot. At the end of service, they go and play 9 Square. They are at Hope Students until 9:30
I rarely
or 10
get them
at
home
night.
before 10 o'clock at night on Wednesday nights.
It's so
now.
fun.
So different.
Just having them hang with us. And so anyway, that was my story. That's my perspective, I guess, of the story of them getting more connected. And this is why I invited Angela, because I wanted her to tell her story of what that looked like on the other end of her being a parent and kind of struggling with them getting connected to, and what that looked like for her, because I know that she's not the only one. And I know that based on all these emails I get, I know she's not the only one. So we're here hopefully to provide some hope for people who are really hoping that their teenagers would get connected. So Angela, I'd love for you, after I've talked so much, to share a little bit about your perspective and what this story looked like from your side.
Absolutely. Yes, it was very difficult in the beginning because they were so different than my daughter. She, like you said, was very extroverted. Yeah. They are very much more so introverted kids, at least until they're more comfortable.
Yeah.
And so they didn't open up as easily. You know, teenagers, it always happens differently. All 3 of my kids are very different from each other.
Yeah.
Even with the boys being twins. They're very, very different. So there was a season where they came to me and they said, hey, we don't like coming. We don't want to go to Hope. Yeah. We want to go to our friend's church. Yeah. And I was like, I'm not
cool, but let's
I
want to
be
more.
Cool, but we're not going to do that. Now, here's the deal. And I told them this. If we went to a very small church that only had a couple of kids and didn't really have an active community of student ministries, I would be totally fine with that. Yeah. I would say if I lived in that area or that was my situation, I would let my kids go anywhere they connected.
For sure.
No question.
Yeah.
But I said, we have 4 thriving student ministries at Hope Fellowship.
Yeah.
If you do not, because we attended a campus, but we live in a different city and they go to school in a different city.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a little bit all over a weird situation. So I said, I don't care what campus you go to, but I want you to try all of these first.
Yeah.
Then if you cannot find it, I will do whatever I have to do.
Yeah.
But I want you to just try all of these first. You can pick any campus you want to go to. I will drive you anywhere.
Yeah.
they thought about it for a couple days, came back and told me, okay, we want to go to Frisco East. I was like, great, awesome. So we started taking them back down to Frisco East because for a while we were going to a different campus on Wednesday nights. And it wasn't that they didn't like the leaders. It totally was just a connection.
Yeah, for sure.
With other kids.
Yeah, which happens. It can happen. Yeah.
It totally happens.
Sometimes there is weird things like that do happen.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm so passionate about partnering with parents and trying to figure it out. So totally understand.
So I remember I talked to you and William about it when they were coming. And I was like, listen, I need them to have great leaders. I need you to help them find friends. Whatever you got to do.
Yeah.
And you did. And we have had the most incredible leaders who have been so faithful in my kids' lives over the years. You and William have shown up at games, have walked them through really difficult things. Their small group leaders have showed up at games. I mean, it has been a slow roll.
Yeah.
And I had to be so patient.
Yeah. Which is not always a parent's best quality. I will say that.
I wanted it to just happen overnight.
Yeah.
And they're just different. And I had to celebrate the wins when they would come home and say, oh, yeah, we had a new kid in our group tonight. He was really cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. I'm not going to lie. There were still Wednesday nights they didn't want to go.
Yeah.
And the reality is I'm their parent. And as their parent, my husband and I had to say, as your parent, we know what's best for you.
Yeah.
So we're going to ask you because in our church, or in our house, going to church is a priority.
Yeah.
So we aren't like over the top. If they had a game.
You're right.
I totally understood.
Yeah.
There were a couple nights where they had 3 papers due the next day.
Yeah.
We had to miss. But for the most part, it was pretty much understood that we're going to go to church.
Yeah.
And I just felt like if I could be consistent as a parent, I was going to leave the rest of it up to the Holy Spirit.
Yeah, that's good.
I was going to let the Holy Spirit do what He is going to do in my kids' lives.
Yeah.
My only job was to be obedient.
Yeah.
And to get my kids there.
That's good.
And they did. I was not always loved because of that by them. I was not always the fun parent.
Yeah.
But now my kids, what I see my kids doing now, I know that it was worth it.
Yeah.
I just don't think any parent will ever regret having their kid go to church.
Yeah.
And saying, hey, this is a priority.
Yeah.
This is I do know, like, there are some kids that struggle with anxiety and fears.
Absolutely.
And those are things you have to work through individually with your own kids. And you have to figure out. For my kids, I knew that was not it.
Yeah.
It was, honestly, it was a laziness of not wanting to connect. Sometimes because they're twins, they always have each other.
Right.
So
they already have connection
they already
with somebody.
have a connection. So
they
they're
have a
like,
best friend.
Why bother?
Yeah.
And it was laziness on their part.
Yeah.
It got worse during COVID. And so to get out of that was a little bit more difficult, but I felt like consistency was the key.
Yeah, that's so good. I will say one of the things you said something about games. What's been so fun this year is even when they've had football games or soccer games, they've went and played.
Yes.
And then still shown up, even if it's late on Wednesday night, because they haven't wanted to miss it. And that's been really cool because a few years ago, they wouldn't have done that.
No,
and they didn't do that.
No, they didn't do that. They would have used any excuse possible to not come.
Yeah.
And they do not ever want to miss now.
Yeah.
Because they recognize, number one, I'm so happy they recognize the importance of community for themselves.
Yeah, for sure.
That was something that as an adult, it is a huge piece of my life, is my community.
Yeah.
My husband and I, throughout our entire marriage, we've had great friends.
Yeah.
I have amazing friends, you and our entire group of friends.
Yeah.
I can't imagine my life without community. And I did not want my kids to grow up and not understand how important it is to have people they can really actually talk to about things.
Yeah.
Not just friends at school that they make jokes with or that they go through classes with or do projects with. Kids they can actually talk about their spiritual walk with.
Yeah.
Kids they can talk about things they're struggling
That's so good.
with.
Yeah.
I mean, they needed to understand that, and they get that now, and they love coming.
Yeah, that's so good. I love that.
So yeah, it's been a change, but it has been a slow change.
Yeah, it didn't happen overnight.
It didn't happen overnight.
Yeah.
And my husband and I both had to continue to be consistent.
Yeah.
And faithful.
Yeah.
We prayed constantly
Yeah.
for their ears to be open, for their eyes to be open, for
That's so good.
them to find those friendships, for them to feel safe and comfortable and just calm and just have a longing and a desire to not just want to be there, but to like you said, be in community and connected. And to be a part of Hope Fellowship overall. And them serving in Hope students is such an answer to prayer. Because we've always said in our house, we serve somewhere. Like, we don't care where you serve. It can be in an organization. It can be in the community, in the church. We, in our house, we serve others. And so for years, they chose to do Tear Down at Prosper Campus every week, which is awesome and amazing. But they did it because, and very needed. But they did it because they didn't have to talk to anybody. They could just go in and do it and go
put
home.
the AirPods in.
That's right.
Pack them up.
That's why they did it. But once the building was built, I started asking, okay, where are you going to serve now? And they were like, okay, we have to start thinking about it. And when it was such a God thing that happened right when you started talking to them about middle school groups. And they were so hesitant to try it because they were like, we aren't going to like middle schoolers. We aren't. And they love it now. And one of them are going as a co-leader to camp. And they both serve every week. And they are so happy and fulfilled doing that.
I love that so much. I love this story. I heard you say a couple things, and I know we got to wrap up here, but I heard you say a couple things about, one, just consistency. I feel like that's something good that all parents should hear. And if they're struggling with their own kid being connected, that consistency is a really big thing. Getting them there on Wednesday nights, even when it's hard. And you actually had a really good, what you did was a little bit tricky, but also amazing.
It worked. We did. We told our kids, hey, invite whoever you want from school. They tended, during this particular season, they were very close to a group of guys at their school, more so than at church. And so I was like, hey, if your friends aren't going to church or they aren't connected somewhere, invite your friends to come to church. They can come home from school with you. I will buy dinner every Wednesday night, and I will take as many friends as you want.
I love that.
And let me tell you, it has cost a lot of money at Chick-fil-A, and it has, and it was a lot of time. Because there were weeks my husband and I were both driving a car. They had so many friends coming with them.
Wild.
And then coming home, our kids' friends live all over North Dallas because they go to a charter school. So it sometimes took us an hour to get home after church.
That is wild.
And there were weeks I was like, this is not what I wanted to do after working all week. It is a sacrifice. And I would say, parents, consistency is a key. Be willing to sacrifice. If this is important to you, what are you willing to give up so that your kids will go and will enjoy? And the last thing I would say to parents is, if after all that your kid is still not connecting, get involved yourself.
Ooh, that's
Go
good.
talk to your student pastor. Say, hey, what can I do to serve? You don't have to be in your kids' group. They don't even have to see you there. There are so many things that we as parents can do. Going to get first-time guest drinks, helping with connections, helping tear down, set up, whatever. But when you're there, your kid's probably going to be there. And it kind of forces it. It gives them a little bit of comfort, even though teenagers will never admit that they're comfortable with you there.
With you being there.
But be willing to do that for your kid to do it. And be willing to make Wednesday nights, summer camp, and missions trips a priority. I know it's expensive. I know that it's hard. I know it conflicts with family things sometimes. It has to be a priority. It has to be. Because they are only what we do in moderation, or what we see them do, like they will do more than what we do, hopefully. They will do in excess. So if we can at least get them there, the prayer is that they will do more. And that they will get plugged in.
I love that.
So
I love that, Ange. Thanks so much for being here and sharing the story.
Thank you. And all the other student pastors, parents, you do not understand. I see it on a daily basis working with this team. The sacrifice they make to come to our kids' games, plays, birthday parties, graduation parties. This team works probably 4 or 5 nights a week, most weeks, and 40 hours a week in the office. And you have no idea the sacrifices they make for our kids. So if you have not lately, go say thank you to your student pastor, to your student director, to their residents. They serve our kids so well, and we are so blessed to have them.
Thank you, Ange. That was not a part of the script, but we appreciate that, and we love teenagers, and that's why we do it.
And you're great at it.
We want them to know God in a real way, and so we'll do what we need to do, and we love it. So, parents, thanks for joining us. Ange, thanks for joining us. Parents, don't forget, you can do this. You're not alone. God is with you, and so are we. See you next week.
Bye, guys.